Tonight at 10, a shooting in a youth engagement area on the second weekend of the summer curfew. Why some argue volunteer safety isn't enough of a priority in targeted areas. Plus, City State's Attorney Ivan Bates offering clarification on his citation docket after public pushback, while he says it won't be good news for everyone. And the president signs off on a deal to raise America's debt ceiling, why members of both parties are still unsatisfied.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
And we begin with breaking news. One person is dead after a shooting along Eastern Avenue in East Baltimore. It happened just before 4:30 this afternoon. Baltimore police say a man was shot several times and taken to the hospital where he later died. Police say they may have a second victim, but they haven't been found yet. Anyone with information is asked to contact police or Metro Crime Stoppers. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Vincent Hill. This afternoon's shooting continuing what's been a violent start to June across the city. 3 more people shot overnight in North Baltimore, West Baltimore, and Federal Hill. Fed Hill is one of 3 targeted curfew enforcement areas where city leaders are asking civilians to patrol the streets on weekend nights. Now, that request drawing some backlash across the city.
Is there going to be some sort of a background check system? You can't send people in there blindly to do what? Just be hall monitors?
This most recent shooting leaving residents on edge, wondering if volunteering to enforce that curfew would put their own safety at risk. While Baltimore police were patrolling near Light Street and East Cross Street around 1:45 Saturday morning.
That's pretty chaotic, pretty scary to be that close to it.
Chaos breaking out just a few feet away. One man shot in the back at Patapsco and East Cross Street. Max works at a nearby bar, calling the recent crime in Fed Hill out of control.
It's kind of Wild West when you're on your own out here when it's 3 or 4 in the morning, and there's a lot of other stuff that requires police. One
of the things that doesn't require police, enforcing the city's youth curfew.
We want to relieve them of something that has been their sole duty for as long as I've been breathing air in Baltimore.
Instead, Mayor Brandon Scott enlisting city-employed volunteers. This shooting at one of the 3 designated curfew hotspots, calling into question, would those volunteers be in danger of becoming a victim themselves?
I am out right now, but like late at night, it gets dicey.
Fox 45, speaking with residents in the area. Jonathan, standing in the same spot where a man was shot, surprised how close the violence was to his front door.
I live right behind Bandito, so I could throw a rock at this spot.
Keontae, a longtime Fed Hill resident, says no part of the city is immune to Baltimore's gun violence.
There's always going to be violence in the city. It's Baltimore, like, people got guns.
On Friday, Fox 45 reached out to the mayor's office, asking, was the city able to locate enough volunteers? His office has still not replied. And while it's not clear if those volunteers will feel a sense of safety, those in Fed Hill say they certainly don't.
Are you concerned for your safety when you're walking through?
100%, yeah. And that's the sad thing is I gotta leave cash at work. I gotta Uber instead of even scoot anymore because it's just don't know out here right now.
So that brings us to our question of the day. Do you believe the city is prepared to enforce the youth curfew all summer? So far, 94% of people who voted say no. You can head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. The mayor's office for neighborhood safety and engagement unveiled 2 new programs aimed to curbing youth violence this week. The Safe Passage initiative will put city employees near schools from 2 to 5 in the afternoon to keep the peace and offer resources for students. The program is being tested at 2 city schools. Monty also unveiled the Peace Mobile. That's a bus that will be deployed to communities in need of resources following traumatic events, helping residents in the healing process. Baltimore's top prosecutor, Ivan Bates, introducing a plan to address quality of life crimes in the city with a new citation docket, but some worry the program won't improve quality of life for everyone. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker has the community concerns and Bates's response.
We're here today to discuss
announcing a new citation docket for low-level offenses. Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates is touting accountability.
Not in this position to coddle individuals, but we're trying to get them help. If they don't want help, they will be prosecuted.
For adults 18 years and older, citations will cover a multitude of offenses, including several dirt bike charges, loitering, and possession with intent to distribute marijuana. It's a stark contrast from Bates' predecessor, Marilyn Mosby, who stopped prosecuting crimes she considered low level in March of 2021.
My hope is that Baltimore City will be a model.
We feel that this is the way.
But not everyone thinks so. Criticism has been flowing in on social media, people calling the plan terrible. One Twitter user saying, look how they constantly set young black men up to be criminalized. Another saying Baltimore loves to focus on policing black people rather than implementing initiatives that actually help the city. On Twitter, Bates responding to the criticism, pushing back, going on to further clarify the docket, saying law enforcement officers will first warn individuals before issuing a citation. But this is not an arrest. Eligible defendants will be advised of their rights and given the opportunity to complete community service and be referred to wraparound services. First-time offenders will receive up to 5 hours of community service, second-time offenders up to 10 hours, and those who complete the community service will have their case dismissed. Only those who refuse will go to the criminal docket or those who reoffend for a third time.
At the end of the day, it's not about trying to have a person have a criminal record. We really just want to divert these individuals to job training, to educational training and things like that.
Bates calling his plan fair and equitable when questioned on whether it's a good use of resources.
What I can tell you is the people that live in the community, they say this is the correct form of uses of resources. They are sick and tired of being sick and tired of the city.
Commissioner Michael Harrison agreeing, saying this is not about mass incarceration or aggressive policing.
This is not about arresting our way out of violent crime or burdening people with citations.
It's very minimal interaction with the police. It's a citation. Now you're going to come to the courthouse. And when you come to the courthouse, we're focusing on wraparound services. But at the end of the day, we just cannot allow people to do whatever they want.
In Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Now, to be eligible for community service alternatives, the defendant must have no pending charges for a crime of violence or handgun offense. The defendant must also not be currently on probation or parole for a crime of violence and have no outstanding warrants. People are referred to the citation docket only 2 times. Bates is also asking for another $800,000 from the city fund for his office.
The standards are for every 100 officers, there should be at least 1 person reviewing body camera footage. Baltimore City has 4 individuals reviewing body camera footage. These cases involve multiple police officers.
The $800,000 budget calls for $300,000 to add staff to review body cam footage and another $500,000 to hire more prosecutors. Right now, the mayor's budget proposal does not account for that additional $500,000. Bates' budget hearing is scheduled to begin Monday night at 7 o'clock in City Hall. We're learning more about a shooting last night in Essex, which sent 2 juveniles to the hospital. Baltimore County Police say the incident began as a verbal argument in front of Sandalwood Elementary School along South Maryland Avenue. Police say they are looking for any they are not looking for any suspects at this time, and charges are pending. Fox 45 News spoke to a mother who was nearby when that shooting happened, saying the shooting is a part of sad reality.
It's middle school kids. I have a middle school myself. It's sad. The kids, they shouldn't even have access to these guns, and they do.
This is still a developing story, and of course, we'll keep you updated as more information becomes available. Overnight in Parkville, a man was shot along Kings Ridge Road. Police say it happened around 1 o'clock this morning. The man was taken to the hospital, but is expected to survive. Baltimore County Police say they have a suspect in custody, but they're asking anyone with more information to contact the department.
It was a pretty nice Saturday. Temperatures weren't quite as hot as they were yesterday. We stayed in the 80s. Tomorrow, though, we are heading to the 70s. That's all a part of our next weather maker. We are keeping track of a few showers across the state. We've got some very, very light rain around Towson, but some of the heavy pockets that we're seeing are farther west, closer to Hagerstown. There is the chance for very stray showers tonight, but most of us will stay dry, and we keep that dry pattern into tomorrow. Current temperatures sit at 65. We're overcast here in Baltimore, and it is a little breezy. Winds are out of the east around 16 miles per hour. It'll stay breezy overnight. Temperatures are mainly in the 60s across the state, a few spots in the 50s, and even a couple spots in western Maryland still in the 70s. But overnight, these numbers will fall. We're looking at the 50s and 60s before another nice day tomorrow. I'll let you know what to expect as the weekend ends coming up in my full forecast. Back to you.
Let's go live to the White House as President Biden is making it official today, signing off on a deal to raise the debt ceiling and avoid default. It comes just 2 days before deadline, and the president saluted both parties in their efforts to compromise.
No one got everything they wanted, but the American people got what they needed. We averted an economic crisis, an economic collapse. We're cutting spending and bringing the deficits down at the same time.
Raises the debt limit until 2025 and sets budget targets for the next 2 years, but members of both parties still saying they made too many concessions.
At the end of the day, this is still adding $1.3 trillion of debt to our national debt, burdening my grandchildren, fueling inflation.
This is a bill that weakens us in the fight against climate change. It takes food away from hungry people. It makes students who are struggling on student loan debt locked in harder on making their payments.
The law imposes stricter rules for food stamps and cutbacks on unspent COVID relief. It also prevents President Biden from extending a pause on federal student loan repayments without congressional approval. Coming up, city schools in the hot seat at Baltimore budget hearings this week amid concerns over student performance and attendance. Why one expert says more needs to be done before the first day of school. And making an impact at a young age, how one organization is teaching Baltimore's youth to protect themselves. Funding for Baltimore City Schools, one of the main talking points at this week's City Council budget hearings. Fox 45's Taylor Stewart looks into the numbers and how one education expert says the city can improve its outreach to students.
Baltimore City Schools at an inflection point, managing its largest budget yet, a $1.7 billion allocation to educate nearly 78,000 city students, just over 45,000 of which are chronically absent. At a Thursday budget hearing, administrators acknowledged the increase in empty desks this past year and shared plans to address troubling school performance.
But we're talking about 50% of the students in Baltimore City. That's a lot.
David Heber, a once chronically absent student himself, now holds a doctorate in education. His mission is to get Baltimore City students on the right path and in the classroom, something he says starts well before the first day of school.
Summertime is a very key component of when to get to those students, find out what those students need, and create a plan, a robust and strategic plan to support those students and families when they come back.
Here's a look at how your tax dollars are divided up. Baltimore City Schools are set to receive $998 million from the state, $392 million from the city, and $18 million from other sources, which include some federal dollars. Administrators laid out allocation plans, which include hiring 500 additional teachers and increasing investments in the arts and mental health.
Our most successful in terms of impact for students tutoring program is actually our homegrown tutoring that uses Baltimore City's own paraprofessionals.
In the district's adopted 2023-2024 budget, administrators making this commitment: we have not and will not waste this opportunity. Dr. Heber says the influx of funding does give the district a unique opportunity to change course, but he says that may quite literally require meeting students where they are.
It's going to be very ambitious, but every single student should be visited during the summertime. Every single student. What does it look like going into the homes? I'm not talking about a focus group. I'm not talking about a town hall meeting, but literally from the ground, knocking on every single door of a school-aged child and asking the students and the parent, how can we be supportive?
Taylor Stewart, Fox 45 News.
And Baltimore City Schools is already the fourth most funded large school system in the country. It spends more than $21,000 per student. Project Baltimore also found the number of employees in the school system making more than 100K rose 36% from 2019 to 2021. Project Baltimore also found City Schools CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises earns a base salary of a little more than $333,000 per year. And given the perks in her contract, she earns nearly $445,000 a year.
It's milking taxpayers like dairy cows. We put a premium on those leaders locally that say they're going to educate our children. And so we need to hold, at the end of the day, we need to hold them accountable.
Of Project Baltimore's reporting on the Baltimore City Public School System on our website, foxbaltimore.com. All right, coming up, finding some extra beauty in Baltimore. That's if you know where to look, how a local sculptor is channeling his passion for Charm City into his art. Man, talk about patriotic. Governor Wes Moore hosting a promotion ceremony for the Maryland National Guard at Morgan State University. General Janine Burkhead is promoted to Major General. She's led the Maryland Military Department since May of 2018. It oversees nearly 7,000 National Guard members. And the Pride Month celebrations continue with the Annapolis Pride today. Plenty of energy during the parade. Joe sharing this video of some dancers carrying the Pride flag and the Mexican flag. How about some love for the mascots? Cookie and Panda the Fox showing off their rainbow-inspired costumes at the parade. And Andy here got a picture with one of the mascots saying he's looking for as many photos as he can get.
We are keeping track of a few showers moving across the state. I'll let you know when the rain clears and what to expect as the weekend ends tomorrow in my Weather Authority forecast.
Finding that community is like finding home, finding your family.
Survivors against violence everywhere are safe, helping families who have lost loved ones to gun violence go through the healing process. Photojournalist Morgan Privado was at today's event in Cold Spring and has that powerful message.
This is a new day.
The day of remembrance. We're having a revitalizing the mind, body, and spirit.
I am claiming that you are going to leave this event different from when you walked in.
We are in an organization that I would pray and hope that no one would actually come to or be a part of, like a dry desert with no water.
I am declaring, now you are found.
SAVE is a place where we help each other to cope with the devastation that we are going through.
Finding that community is like finding home, finding your family.
Because we've lost children through violence in Baltimore City, we are a part of that organization.
I got started with SAVE in 2008 when I lost my first son, but I lost two sons, my only two children.
And I've been with SAVE since 2014 when I lost my only son.
They have been a great, tremendous help to all of us.
Yes.
Because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't probably be standing here.
Today, it is something for people that lost their loved ones to come out, get a little nurturing of wellness.
You never lose. You only learn.
Mm-hmm. Our lives are not the same anymore.
Right.
Our lives have totally changed, so that's why we do what we do.
We want our children to be remembered, not only by ourselves, but others. We will be releasing butterflies in the memory of loved ones that we've lost.
Aww.
These are my babies. I had to nurture them all night.
And that's why it's so important to keep our loved ones' memories alive. You know, my son, to me, I know they would never die because they live within me. They live in my heart.
And the East Baltimore community holding a workshop to help young people protect themselves from crime in the city. Operation Post hosted the event, which focuses on teaching people how to be safe in their everyday lives. Programs included gun safety, anti-bullying, sexual harassment, and cybercrime. Post Director Samuel Redd has been doing this for 20 years and says they've had to adapt to changes throughout Baltimore in that time.
We've seen the change with the change in the environment, change in the different types of crime and violence. There's a lot of crime now with young people with guns and things like that. So we address every aspect of violence as it grows or changes in and around the community. But our whole focus is on prevention.
Pulse runs quarterly workshops and also works with local Baltimore children in churches and schools.
It was a pretty nice day, and most of us stayed dry. However, now we're keeping track of a few spotty showers. The good news is that the weekend ends on a dry note with great weather tomorrow. 65 for the current temperature and still overcast over Baltimore. It's a little breezy with winds out of the east around 16 miles per hour. It will remain breezy overnight. Here's a look on the HD radar. We've got some very, very light showers toward Towson, but a lot of the heavy rain, the spotty heavy rain that we're seeing is in western Maryland, around Hagerstown, and even into West Virginia and Virginia. However, some of those showers could pass over the Baltimore area later tonight, so you want to make sure that if you have to drive anywhere, that you are driving safely. Temperatures are mainly in the 60s across the state. Few spots in the 70s toward western Maryland, and then some lower numbers toward Salisbury and Ocean City. As we head overnight, though, temperatures drop to the 50s, keeping things pretty mild. As we head into the afternoon, though, our temperatures return to the 70s. Now, first, we've got those showers that gradually start to taper after midnight. By 7 a.m., we're back to nice and dry weather. We start with mostly cloudy skies, but the clouds will clear by the afternoon. Expect plenty of sunshine and temperatures reaching the upper 70s and the low 80s. We'll stay dry as we head into Monday. We're looking at a great start to the day. We'll have a few more clouds arrive by the afternoon, but overall, another fantastic day for spending some time outside with dry weather and pretty quiet conditions. We're also keeping watch on Arlene, that system. Post-tropical right now. We're not expecting significant impacts. However, it could lead to rain across parts of Cuba. Nothing else to worry about in the Atlantic Basin right now, though. 57 for the low temperature with early showers and possible storms. Then we're mostly dry tomorrow with temperatures reaching 78. Expect plenty of sunshine and a light breeze with winds out of the north-northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. We'll have a great start to the work week. 82 on Monday and temperatures slightly higher than average. 84 on Tuesday, mostly dry. Then on Wednesday, temperatures around 80, still keeping things close to average. 82 on Thursday, 82 once again on Friday for a nice and dry start to the weekend. We'll be in the mid-80s on Saturday. Back to you.
Baltimore's like the best city in the East Coast for artists. It really is.
Well, it's all around you, but you may not even know it. In this week's Maryland Moment, Fox 45's Shannon Lilly and photojournalist Lane Blank introduced us to a local artist making a lasting impact.
Take a ride around the city.
The architecture of these churches is just amazing.
You see them every day.
I didn't know it was right here.
Landmarks that paint the Baltimore skyline.
Johns Hopkins.
Backdrops to our busy lives. But look again.
Like a princess is back there.
You may not have noticed these windows of City Hall.
I think they're pretty.
About a century younger than the rest.
I never really thought about it much.
The carvings on the grounds of Johns Hopkins University.
Yeah, it's very well integrated.
A reflection of our own Chesapeake Bay.
Like, I carved that chunk of City Hall or whatever, and like, that's kind of neat.
And tucked away inside a South Baltimore studio.
Just making sure you're not in the line of fire if I do something crazy.
These hands hold the tools.
I really thought it wasn't gonna break. You okay?
That helped create them.
It resonates on a primal level with, I'm just still a little kid that wants to beat rocks together.
Between the sparks, the smoke, and the dust. From a young age, Sebastian Martirana found his passion in this. Moving from D.C. to Baltimore for grad school at the Maryland Institute College of Art, now...
It's nice when things break the way you want them to.
He's been breaking things for a living for the last 2 decades. It's a craft that takes precision.
If you're carving a letter and something looks wrong, everybody knows it's wrong.
And in some cases, there's no room for mistakes.
The fact that it's stone, it's both strong and fragile. There's no Control Z, there's no undo. If something hits the floor, it's done.
But when done correctly, his messages can live on.
He's working with something that literally took millions of years to create in a tradition that dates back, more than thousands of years.
Brian Miller, owner of Catalyst Contemporary in Baltimore,
3 towels
has been showcasing Martirana's work in their Baltimore gallery and his